Now it's time for our Friday morning coffee break, and it's a big welcome to the studio to a friend and former colleague of ours, Rachel McMahon. Hi Rachel, how are you? And also from Limerick City Rhythm Band, Lynda Tucker. Hi Lynda, how are you doing? And the newly minted group editor of iconic newspaper group, of which the Limerick leader is part, Alan English. Good morning, Alan.
Morning, Joe.
And congratulations to you. And also, I know your successor at the leader is Eugene Phelan, the new editor, soon to be the new editor, and a stalwart of the Limerick leader for many, many years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Eugene started at the leader at 18 years old. So I'm sure you won't mind me saying that he's 41 years of tremendous service. You know, very, very well known, very, very well liked. You know, he's got, the Limerick leader has been his second home for all that time, and he's been fantastic deputy for me for nearly 10 years, and you know, I'm delighted that he's going to be the only the 7th editor since 1910. So
wow.
Yeah.
Right, well, congratulations to you, Eugene, everyone in the media in Limerick, and indeed the wider community. Delighted for you as well. Right, let's start our chat with what is going on in Dublin and the gangland situation. And, you know, we need to be careful here because we know what it's like in Limerick to have people exaggerating it. But it is quite frightening, isn't it, Lynda?
It's horrific for the people that are living there. They can't come outside their doors, they're afraid, they don't know whether they're going to be missed target. And the guards are under so much pressure. I mean, be realistic, they can't be everywhere. But I'd like to know why the army aren't involved. Why aren't they coming? Why aren't they being brought in to give the guards a hand? Because they're so understaffed at the moment. I know there's loads in training, they're coming out. But we do need help up there because this problem is escalating. They're doing great work, the cab, and now this morning they're talking about a mini cab coming out. These all take time to put in place. At the moment, the community is suffering very badly.
Rachel?
Do you know what struck me about this? Is the first place I heard about it, or read about it rather, was in The Guardian. Not an Irish paper, not the Irish Indo, not the Times, in The Guardian. And it struck me as being, you know, just a little surreal that I was reading it in a British newspaper, but one that is, of course, read across the world. But it just goes to show that it's serious enough to be newsworthy for them. We have all experienced the stories over the years in our own city. We've had to deal with them, we've had to report on them. And for people who are very proud of their city and county, it's terrible to see that we were often blanketed with these sort of statements that were overblown. The point there about Gardaí, one of the comments I read in The Independent was from the Taoiseach, who said he feels that the Gardaí have all of the resources needed, and that surprised me. He went on to say there's a feud between families, I don't think I can stop that, and then later on said he was speaking as a citizen. Now, this is just my opinion, but when a Taoiseach is speaking to anyone in the media, he's speaking as the Taoiseach. And I think...
Well, he's in the Dáil, wasn't he? Making Dáil.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing about it is, I can't imagine how the guards are feeling right now, knowing that they don't have the resources, that they need more. There's been 7 killings so far, and it is likely that this will go on. And people are wondering when is it going to end, and how is it going to end, and what are the Gardaí and the government, what stance will they take on it?
Yeah, and I mean, some of the tabloids, you know, the way it is being covered. For example, the Irish Daily Star headline today is Kinahan in fear, desperate Don, drugs boss Christie, dapper Don Kinahan, is hopping between continents because he's so terrified he will be whacked by the Hutch gang.
Yeah, I mean, there's great parallels, Joe, with how the Red Top media covered the feud, the gangland stuff in Limerick all those years ago, and I was getting a lot of calls earlier in the week from the likes of the Marion Finucane show and various other national radio shows saying, Limerick went through this, so you must know the answers to this. Why is this happening, and how did Limerick solve the problem? So it's but at the point that you make there is well made. There's no doubt about it that some of the tabloids are reveling in it. But it certainly sells newspapers, and I think we're in a point in the story where nobody really knows how to deal with this. It's just I don't get the sense from the minister, or I don't get the sense from the Taoiseach that they have really any ideas about how to stop it. We could get another murder. As we're sitting here, there could be another murder taking place, and I think we need to see much stronger language coming from the powers that be, and it's very unfortunate for Enda to say that, basically excuse himself almost from responsibility for it.
Yeah, it was quite a remarkable comment, wasn't it?
It was. But it probably showed where his head is. There's probably a part of him that thinks, well, if these guys want to go around shooting one another, that's their business. But the reality is, the community, it's appalling that the community finds itself in the midst of this, battleground, where indiscriminate shooting could result. Innocent people could get killed, and nobody, just even if people have been involved in gangland activity, nobody wants to see this kind of barbarism.
Yeah, I mean, is there a risk of glamorising these people with the way it's being covered, Lynda?
Well, when you look at the newspapers, the media, Facebook, you see the pictures, you see the lovely cars, you see the lovely motorbikes. I mean, we all love those things, but we have to work for them. And when you see these people can have them so easily, God, but they're costing people's lives. And this has a detrimental effect on the community, on the different agencies, because when there's drugs involved, it hits off its families. It puts pressure on the HSE because now Tusla's involved with children. And these all put a big drain on society, and where funding could be going elsewhere to help other problems around. This is just killing our community at the moment, the drugs.
I mean, a number of the newspapers decided this week to use the CCTV footage of the latest shooting, Rachel. I mean, there are two arguments there. One is it was distasteful and shouldn't have happened. The other is it maximises pressure on the authorities and on the government. What do you think?
Well, I would rather see the CCTV footage than read a sensationalised headline based on footage seen by reporters for the Red Tops or anything, because that's generally where we seem to see those splashy headlines. What we are seeing has a strong impact on us, and while it's this person is someone's son, he's obviously the nephew of the monk. While it's horrible to watch any sort of death on camera, maybe we need a shock. Maybe we need to be shocked before action is taken. Hopefully, after this has been released, that it will be handled in a responsible way, but it will also create a stronger impact to challenge these gangland shootings in Dublin.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, there is some history here of growing pressure on the government having an effect in terms of resources on the ground. And we saw that in Limerick ourselves.
Yeah, we saw the 100 extra Gardaí. We saw Dermot Ahern getting, legislation through in the Dáil, which wasn't universally popular. And it's also, what's striking about it, Joe, is how easily this kind of thing can just bubble up, and I don't think any of us in Limerick, can be in any way complacent, and we shouldn't be looking at this in terms of, we solved this problem by putting so many of these gangland people behind bars for long stretches of time. We know that this could happen very quickly, and that the whole issue of Garda resources was critical to Limerick getting on top of the issue. So the whole on Garda Síochána, as we saw last night, now this is becoming a bigger issue practically by the hour.
And you have to feel for the ordinary members of the community in that part of Dublin, because again, we know in Limerick what it's like to be stigmatised, and the truth is the vast majority of them are just trying to get on with their lives, and they're walking out their front door wondering, will I be caught up in the crossfire today?
Horrific for them. I mean, to go out in your normal life, you want to go to work, you want to go down to mass, you want to go shopping, and to know that the guards are on your corner. They're not there willy-nilly, they're there for a reason.
Bring your kids to and from school,
No, and it has happened, you know, as we said, we have suffered in Limerick. We were lucky. It was all taken very quickly in hand and put in place. Dublin is a very big city and has a very big problem. And I just hope that they make the right decisions up there and cap things now, because it is out of hand at the moment, and media's making it.
Yeah, it took a matter of years for the Limerick situation to be addressed, and it was mostly done by taking certain people out of circulation. And you know, I think there's a lot of intelligence needed in order to get on top of the situation in Dublin. You know, I'm not sure if they have a complete handle on it at the moment.
Okay, we'll take a break and we'll chat about other things after that on our Friday morning coffee break. Right, we're having our Friday morning coffee break chat with Lynda Tucker, Rachel McMahon and Alan English, and the leader this week had a story that the new O'Connell Street in Limerick is to be in place by 2018. Lynda, would you be up for that, or do you have some doubts about that?
Well, I don't like to pay parking charges. I always walked into town, parked my car, and then when the prices came in, I would have paid for the parking this. But I feel now it's a bit expensive to be coming into town to be parking. I could end up spending €10 on parking. I can get the same services outside of the shopping centres. So to me, with the council doing this lovely work, it will look fabulous, but all they're short is the footfall for the businesses that are in town that are already losing out big time because there is no parking. And when it is to be got, it's very expensive. Even if you go into these city centre car parks, they're lovely.
But
they're not for me.
Is this a bit like Kevin Costner in The Field? You know, build it and they will come. If you have this wonderful plaza,
well, we never came, Joe.
But if you have the plaza now, and you have the
I don't
wonderful
know.
O'Connell
They're actually doing a great job below there in the dock roads. It is just superb to go down there. The sun is out.
The boardwalk.
Boardwalk.
Oh,
it is just
it's
significant.
lovely.
The idea that was put there, it is amazing.
Yeah.
It's great for the tourists. I watched it the other day. I actually walked into town. I wouldn't pay the parking fees.
Really?
I did. I feel very strongly about
do you
it.
think other people feel as strongly as you do about that?
Well, a few of my friends have businesses in town. They've lost out because people won't come in and pay the parking. And they're suffering, you know, apart the rates. I know everybody has to pay rates. It's a way of life now. But to encourage people to come into the city, there should be no parking. I'm not just talking about Friday afternoon from 2 to 4. There should be no parking charges, full stop. Encourage the people to come in. We're a dying city for footfall.
What do you think?
Well, I live in the city centre now, living in the heart of the city for nearly a year. So I'm a pedestrian mostly, unless I'm given a lift or I use public transport. Now, I think that redeveloping that area of O'Connell Street is a great idea. I do agree with it. It is a dying city for footfall, and we need to encourage more people to come into the city, and hopefully it will be completed before the tourist season.
See, you're exactly what everybody wants. You are someone who has chosen to live in the city centre, be at the heart of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that does come up for me, and I actually spoke about this with other people this week, is about the implementation of traffic management. People are still unsure, like, how do I get from A to B now when this is implemented? And that is a concern for many people. You know, it has worked to some degree, I think, in Bedford Row and in Thomas Street. But I'm a little unsure of how it's going to work in one of the biggest streets in Limerick City. And you brought up the issue of businesses being affected by it, and that's also troubling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I actually did think of that Field of Dreams movie when I saw this first, Build It and They Will Come, and I don't think it applies here. I don't think that just pedestrianising the majority of the main thoroughfare in the city is in itself going to be the magic bullet to the issue of footfall. It needs to be seen in a much wider context. But I also believe that we need to get a bigger debate going about, you know, where do we see Limerick City, not just in 12 months' time or in 2018 when this pedestrianisation is expected to be complete, but where do we see it in 20 years, 40 years, 50 years' time? John Moran, a lot of your listeners will be aware, has really kick-started a most exciting debate by suggesting that Limerick could rival Dublin as the second city. It's strategically perfectly placed in between Cork and Galway. It's got a fantastic airport, 12 miles away. It's got the Foynes port. It has huge expansion potential. It's got relatively affordable housing. It's all the things are in place for Limerick to prosper in a massive way. And I think one of the things that is needed on top of that is people to have a bigger idea of how much potential Limerick has. And if we get caught up in the issue of, I'm not coming into the city because, I don't want to pay for parking, or, I'm totally against this because it means I can't drive my car straight up through the main boulevard. Nobody is expecting unfettered access to Dublin or Paris or London or smaller cities that are ambitious and that are successful. So I think there's a bit of a small town mentality that we need to challenge. I saw on the Limerick Leader Facebook page when we put this story out, there was a pretty overwhelmingly negative response. I'm not, this is a joke. And I can understand where that's coming from, because I don't think the council has done enough to convince people that Limerick City Centre has got the kind of future we all hope for it. So this, we've been waiting way too long for the Opera Centre. It's becoming a joke at this stage. We're told now that there will be, hopefully there will be somebody on board to work with the council by early next year. But, people are tired, and, so I can understand why there's scepticism about this. But I still think people need to look at the bigger picture, Joe.
So, Lynda, if it was put in the context of a vision like that, and I know we have the 2030, but John Moran is now saying we can be the second city, we can do much more, etc., etc. But would you see it differently?
I think it's a great vision to look at. But again, you need the people to come into the city. We're suffering for the last 10 years. I've watched, I know they're going to slow up the process with the building works. We'll get over that. I've seen business suffer. I've seen the Thomas Street laundry. They couldn't get in there. Other businesses on Thomas Street. I walked around every day when I would be off work then. But the biggest thing is there's no footfall. Why is there no footfall?
There are not enough reasons to come into the city.
Yeah, there's nothing there to come in for. You've to park.
What do you need?
Well, if I have to come into town, it's €10 to park my car. I'll park it in the shopping centre. It's small money.
There are traders in town who go mad when they hear this being said, and they'll grab me downtown and go, "Will you stop going on about the parking in Limerick City Centre? We're much cheaper."
We want to come in.
Just to finish, we're much cheaper than Galway. We're much cheaper than Cork. We're much cheaper than Dublin.
I don't debate that. But there's no initiative to come in and to park your car, because if you're parking, it's €10 to come in minimum by the time you walk to town. I love to come into the city, but it's very negative with the charges.
I don't think it is €10. I think that's an exaggeration.
Well, for four, I'd be in town for 3 or 4 hours. I'd come in, I'd have lunch with the girls, I'd go off and do a bit of shopping.
Well,
I'd be 3 or 4 euros.
Measures like park and ride, like when we have this giant monstrosity out the Parkway Valley. What are we going to do with that? It doesn't look like it's going to go ahead. Maybe that can be...
Take it down fast.
Maybe turn it into a park and ride. Maybe allow people to park there for €2 and get a bus, every 10 minutes into town. Something like that. There needs to be initiatives. I totally get where you're coming from, but I don't buy into this argument that, just because you can't park for free like you can in the Crescent.
I don't expect to park for free, but I would expect, I think the park and ride is a great idea. €2, very feasible for everybody.
But look, we in nearly 10 years in the Limerick Leader, covering this footfall issue, parking keeps coming up, and I do think it is a bit of a red herring. And some people think that they should be entitled to park directly outside the shop that they want to go in, park their car for free, get it back into their car and drive away. That as if they were in a village. So we need to have a greater ambition for Limerick. We need people to be prepared.
So is the only real solution then to have people in sufficient numbers actually living in the city centre? Therefore, they can walk around rather than. Or maybe even accept that people aren't always going to come in from outside.
Well, I came in this morning. I had no problem getting a parking space this morning on Henry Street. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have got one.
Yeah.
There would have been no space.
But is there one thing? I mean, if they put one thing, and is it Marks and Spencer? Oh my God! Don't mention Marks and Spencer. But if they put one thing in the city centre, would that draw everybody in?
I think if there was free parking and as the parking ride come in for €2.
Well, a mother living in County Limerick, what use is it coming into the city centre to spend the day, pay for the parking, and then not get what you want? Lots of coffee, if you want it. But for a mother in her 40s who pops into Brown Thomas, Debenhams, then pops into other shops while there, and find the assistant at the makeup counter in Brown Thomas saying, sorry, out of stock, give me your number and we'll ring you back, and never hear from them again, it's very, very frustrating, and has happened a number of times. Well, we better find out about that one, I suppose, in terms of the specific. But in the general point, doesn't sound as though you're convinced, Lynda. It doesn't. And
Not at the moment.
And you and people like you are the people that they do have to convince.
But people need to feel that there's a buzz around, you know, and we do see it. You know, we do see it when the sun comes out on a Saturday afternoon. There's a sense of vitality about the city. You know, on a Tuesday afternoon, it's practically tumbleweed coming up O'Connell Street. You know, so but the potential is there. And one of the things you touched on there a minute ago was, you know, the living city. More people living, within walking distance, creating a better buzz. You know, getting the student village down at the Opera Centre site. You know, getting young people walking around, creating a sense of this being a happening place.
Filling up the city.
Yeah, people will come in for that. They don't necessarily, you know, need a, you know, big department, another department store, or God help us, a Marks and Spencer, but they do want to feel that what they're coming into is an experience that they can't get elsewhere.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for the passion on that subject, because it's an ongoing one, but on other things we talked about as well, and we appreciate your time this morning. Rachel McMahon, Lynda Tucker, and Alan English, and we're out of time, so that's the size of it. We're back with you on Monday from 9. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. From Anne-Marie and from me, take care.